Welcome back to Dark TV. There are corners of the American Midwest that don't appear on any tourist map. Places where the corn grows a little too tall, and the silence of the night feels heavy, like a physical weight pressing against your chest. Tonight, we are turning our gaze toward a legend that has been whispered about in truck stops and diners for over 40 years, yet rarely makes the evening news. We are talking about the Ohaio Darkman. Not to be confused with the Mothman of Point Pleasant or the generic shadow people discussed in sleep paralysis forums, the Ohaio Darkman is a distinct and localized phenomenon. Described as a towering silhouette, standing nearly 7 feet tall, often wearing what appears to be a tattered trench coat and a wide-brimmed fedora, this entity does not just observe. It hunts. The legend begins in the late 1970s, during a severe blizzard that shut down the interstate. A trucker named Elias Vance reported seeing a man walking in the middle of the highway, unaffected by the sub-zero temperatures. Vance slammed on his brakes, sliding into a ditch. When he looked up, the figure was standing at his driver's side window. Vance described the face as a void, no eyes, no mouth, just a smooth, pale patch of skin where a face should be. But what terrified him most wasn't the lack of features. It was the sound. A low, static-like humming that vibrated through the glass. Vance survived, but he never drove that route again. Throughout the 80s and 90s, the sightings evolved. Teenagers parking on the outskirts of town reported the Darkman watching from the treeline. Unlike other cryptids that flee when spotted, the Ohaio Darkman reportedly moves closer when acknowledged. One particularly chilling account comes from 1994, from a woman we will call Sarah. Sarah was living in a farmhouse roughly 20 miles from the nearest town. She claimed that for 3 nights, she woke up to see a tall, dark figure standing in the corner of her bedroom. Paralysis took over her body, a common trait in these encounters. But unlike sleep paralysis, physical evidence remained. Muddy footprints, size 15, were found leading from the window to the foot of her bed. The police dismissed it as a prowler, but no entry points were forced, and the footprints stopped abruptly in the middle of the room, as if the intruder had simply vanished into thin air. Skeptics argue that the Ohaio Darkman is a manifestation of isolation, anxiety, psychological projection created by the lonely flat landscapes of the region. They say the Hat Man archetype is a common hallucination. But the Ohaio Darkman has a signature that separates him from the rest: the static. Almost every witness reports electronic interference prior to a sighting. Radios die, car engines stall, and in the modern era, smartphones brick completely. In 2015, a group of urban explorers attempted to document the entity in the abandoned shadowy woodlands known locally as the Black Patch. They brought EMF detectors, thermal cameras, and high-end gear. They found nothing for 6 hours. Then, at 3 a.m., their cameras all corrupted simultaneously. The only footage recovered was a shaky handheld clip showing a tall figure stepping out from behind an oak tree, less than 10 feet away. On that clip? That same low-frequency hum Elias Vance described 40 years prior. So, what are we dealing with? Is this a ghost? An interdimensional traveler? Or perhaps something darker, something that feeds on the fear it generates? Some locals believe the Ohaio Darkman is an omen, a harbinger of tragedy, appearing before floods or fires. Others believe he is a collector, trapping souls in that static frequency. We may never know the true nature of this entity, but one thing is certain. If you find yourself driving through the Ohio Valley late at night, and your radio starts to fuzz with static, don't look into the rearview mirror. You might not like what you see staring back. This is Dark TV. Stay vigilant.